Hi, my name is Jordan Wright with Jordan's Backyard Chickens, and it is starting to cool off here in Ohio, and it is the perfect time to start thinking about things that we have to have in our chicken coop and the way that we're turning around and raising our chickens for the winter time. So whether it's your first time raising chickens through a winter or you're an experienced chicken farmer, I'd love to hear the ways that you are raising your chickens in the winter and or questions that you have going into the winter. Here are some of my must-haves for raising chickens in the wintertime and some of the ways that I sometimes see people making a mistake. They have great intentions, but they go a little bit astray from what I personally would do. So one of the things that we need to make certain, if we are going to keep our chickens laying throughout the year, from spring through fall, once they're mature enough to lay, is that we are giving them 16 hours of daylight in our chicken coop. Because the winter, the daylight is getting shorter, that means that we need to be turning on our lights. And a lot of people are going to be using heat lamps and using heat lamp bulbs in their heat lamps. Where in reality, if you were to just put an LED light bulb in our chicken coop heat lamp, or just use a light strip like I do, that's LED, that they cannot get out of, unless it gets very cold, that will be sufficient. They have fluff underneath their feathers that'll allow them to keep warm. And the next thing is that I see some people wrapping their chicken coops up really tight and making certain that there's no drafts that are going into our chicken coop. You want to make certain that as you go and make your chicken coop airtight so that there's no drafts on them, you are still keeping good ventilation. I like to be able to keep a window open in the front of my chicken coop. And then I actually created my chicken coop so that the front and the back have vents all the way across it. It doesn't snow in the vents. I use like those dryer vents, I think is what they really would be used for. When you go to the hardware store, it's a vent, but then they have little hoods over them. I use that so that the snow can't go into my chicken coop, but at the same time, my chicken coop can exhaust out. Then, now that we have talked about keeping our chickens warm, we also need to make certain that our water stays dry, clean, and thawed out. And there's a few different ways that you can do this. One of the ways that I personally use is using a heated pan. I have a metal pan that's ran on a thermostat, so it'll only turn on when my chickens are under, I think, 30 degrees. So the water at that point would freeze. That pan heater will go and will kick on and allow my water to stay just above freezing. I've also heard that if you put a ping pong ball in it, the idea is moving water doesn't freeze. The chickens will peck that ping pong ball and will keep it from freezing. And we've also used some additives in the water that are completely healthy to raise that water level and to drop the freezing temperature and the freezing rate. So water on its own might freeze at 32 degrees, but I know glycerin will lower that freezing temperature and give you a little bit more of a buffer. If you don't do either of them, as long as you give them fresh water multiple times a day, that way they're able to drink water. Remember, water is the number one ingredient for the success of our chickens. You'll be fine as well. So you don't really have to worry about chickens in the winter. And when you're selecting chickens, and like for me, I live in Ohio, a lot of us live in northern states, we actually can tell that different breeds are going to perform better And these breeds will be labeled through our hatcheries and through the different catalogs as being cold hardy birds. These cold hardy birds, such as an Orpington or a Cochin, are going to do really well in the winter because they have the body mass and they have the feathering. An example of something that would not be cold hardy, that has to be kept warm at all times, would be like a naked chicken, or a modern game, something that has a lot of flesh or a lot of skin, a lot of bone that is exposed to our elements. So as long as you keep the chickens warm enough, you keep the coop from freezing and the water from freezing, you will do great here this winter in 2024. Bye.